Welcome, everybody, to a Delco Nerd Network Hot Take. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've never seen a hot take before, well, it's where a few friends get in a basement. We like to give our thoughts, give our opinions on a TV show, a movie, or a game. Today, it's going to be a TV show, and that TV show is Agatha All Along.
It was Agatha all along.
Here to go on the witch's road with me, as always, the triple threat, Chris Trio.
I was gonna try and really commit to like a witch's laugh.
You can't.
I can't do it.
The Rio laugh,
like the real high pitch. Like it's tough. It's really tough. But Gooch, I'm doing good. What's going on, man?
No, I think Frank did a really good laugh.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I mean, not that you have to do it again, but
No, I can't do it again.
Do it again now.
That's as close as I can get.
and of course, cackling in the mic. That was Delco's prodigal son, Frank Welde. Frank, welcome back, man.
Yeah, welcome back.
It's only taken you a year to invite me back.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, he kept asking.
You didn't show up for Held Out.
I was like, Gooch, no, not again, not again. Come on, dude,
again.
not
All
this
right,
guy.
it's
Come on,
true.
get out here. Yeah,
It's
obviously, yes.
Trio's keeping me on the podcast. He's afraid I'm going to take a spot.
Yes. I mean, listen, I didn't want to say it out loud, but no.
Damn, holy shit.
Yeah.
The real beef
I didn't know
is
that was
starting.
going to be revealed.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Lore, DNN lore today.
Yeah,
lore.
some infighting.
Indeed.
Some Delco infighting. It's fine.
Well, here was my main reason about inviting you on, Frank. It's not because you have great opinions or great takes, but it's because it's because we needed we needed the positivity,
The power of
which
positivity.
I mean, not that I have anything to really hate about this show.
Push all the P.
I'm not gonna be positive about Marvel.
no,
it just doesn't happen anymore.
Gooch is never positive about me.
No, especially on Discord. I gotta amp it up to a degree. But yeah, we're here to discuss Agatha All Along, which we were talking about before. It's technically like the sequel to WandaVision. Oh, you definitely need to watch WandaVision for this show. I feel like I was, I was talking to Kathy about it, and I was explaining. I'm like, yeah, you need WandaVision. You can't really go into this show without it. Like,
I mean, that's season one.
It
It is.
Yeah,
important.
season one.
Yeah.
But Trio, we'll start with you. What'd you think of Agatha All Along? Go for it.
Gooch, excuse my pun, but I actually had a magical time with Agatha All Along. I did. I actually enjoyed it a lot. I can see a lot of the creative team from WandaVision kind of really bleeding in here. I think.
Was it the same team? Or
I think it is. I'm very confident.
The
Yeah.
showrunner is Joe Schaefer for both shows.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And I think a lot of the same creative people behind the scenes were back. I think Agatha herself is really fantastic. Kathryn Hahn.
Yeah,
Yes.
One of the greatest actors out there, genuinely, like female actors. I think she's underrated in a lot of ways. I mean, we all know her from Step Brothers, of course.
Yeah,
That's like the go-to.
That's how I know her.
She's an incredibly funny actor, but she also can play the dramatic very well. Like, she kind of tiptoes back and forth between like cackling, cartoony witch and dramatic, heartfelt mother in many different scenes. And I thought that was really interesting in and of itself. I think they pull on a lot of interesting threads that they set up here in WandaVision. It's a character that I didn't give a fuck about, and I think if they set it up the way that they explained it when preparing us for the show, like we just said, this is season 2 of WandaVision. This is like part 2. I really wish they started with that because I think I would have been more on board from the beginning.
Like promoting it as such.
Yeah, and even
of
just from the
WandaVision,
beginning of like when we heard about it, I didn't really understand that was what it was going to be. But yeah, I really had a good time. There's definitely some negatives for sure, but overall, I thought it was a fun, 8 hours of shows? So
9.
9, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they were all
9
like
episodes?
35 to 45
Oh,
minutes
yeah.
long.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Don't.
You know-
gotta
you know what's
remind
so
me. I
funny?
gotta talk about the runtime.
Episode
Hold on.
5 is
Gotta bitch
30
about
minutes,
it.
and he's got.
You know what's so
Like,
funny?
you gotta
though?
be
up.
fucking
It'll
kidding
come
me.
up.
You know what other show has a 45-minute runtime when you
Penguin.
take out commercials and all that stuff? The Penguin, yeah, but also one of the most critically acclaimed shows ever to grace AMC.
The
Walking Dead?
And Breaking Bad, actually. Yeah, you guys just named another one, actually, that I wasn't even thinking of.
Yeah, I mean that's
So
true.
Yeah, I
that's
guess
all
if
I
you
wanted
take
to
out
say on
commercials,
that
yeah,
end.
okay. Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I'm at on Agatha All Along, at least to start out here.
Well, let's go around the table, Frank.
Absolutely.
Bring it home, man.
I think Agatha All Along was a great show. I mean, Disney's television products aren't top tier. Like, I mean, let's be real with each other. Like,
Sure.
If we
I can
compare
agree
it
with
to
that.
some other, even Marvel television properties, it's not like. I would compare it to Loki, right? Like, as far as quality of
Absolutely.
television, like that's the best show we've gotten from Marvel, other than maybe Loki. I enjoyed Moon Knight. Nothing bad to say about Moon Knight. The Falcon and Winter Soldier has its own problems, but like,
Yeah.
but
I
like
agree
as
with that,
far as Marvel
100%.
television goes, they are figuring it out in a way that they now need to teach Star Wars.
Well, and Star Wars they're just so inconsistent. It's so fucked
And
up.
I
but, like,
mean, they just
It's
canceled.
not a Star Wars podcast.
They just canceled the movie.
yeah, we can go into
Which
a whole different.
was like, thank God, I don't want a movie with Rey. So cool, good.
I don't even know if that's the one that canceled.
I don't. They don't even say which ones they're canceling. They're
canceled.
still bringing her
They
back
just
for a bunch
used
of
her.
stuff.
They just used her as the promo art because I think that was the one that was announced for that date. But like they didn't cancel a movie. They
We
just
never know.
canceled a date.
But anyway, that could be a whole
that's a
nother
whole nother podcast.
in
Yeah, that's a whole
itself.
other conversation.
I'll come back.
Yeah.
Any year. But yeah, no, other than that, like Agatha all along continued a great through line for, and the thing with like 3 series being one big show, if you think about it, this could have been all filler, right? Like this could have been all filler for a character that arguably
Nobody cares about.
No one gave a shit about Agatha Harkness
until Kathryn. Hahn.
Exactly,
Hahn. And
yeah.
even then, like the pushback was, why does Agatha need a show? Right?
Yeah.
Because you don't see the.
Of course, that I was in Discord like, why are we getting
I
this?
think even us like who are maybe more positive most of the time, we're like, what are we doing here?
Right.
Like,
What is the point of this show? And
Right.
like it gave us a really good idea of a very small secular version of the MCU and a smaller like storyline, which I think is what Marvel television should be.
Wait a second. Are you saying that they like wrote a story and then directed that story on a singular vision?
I know it's crazy.
That's
isn't
insane.
it?
Vision.
Rather than contributing to the bigger universe, which it does, but like at the same
Yeah.
time, it can still be a told story within its boundaries.
Well, I mean, what sucks is Agatha Long could probably never do that because magic is such a tertiary thing within the main MCU characters.
So is time travel.
I mean, not. I would say yes, but not really, because like everything is now a multiverse, and all these characters have variants and stuff. But magic is still only with Doctor Strange, and it only recently became Scarlet Witch's thing. You know, like we really.
Well, and
still
she really linked into the like witchery, right? I
Yeah, but we
apologize,
just
yeah.
still haven't had like a ton of magical characters. Like even Moon Knight dabbles, but like I would not consider Moon Knight
say
a magical
Moon
character.
Knight, when he figures out more about what Moon Knight is, will be more magic leaning than he was.
Some of my favorite magic in the MCU is absolutely it's in one scene in Infinity War. Yes. Where Doctor Strange it's when they're fighting Thanos and he just uses like the crimson bands and like the fucking all these different fucking sorceries
That's on,
to like real to
his
take
planet.
yeah when
Yeah.
they're taking down Thanos. So I agree. I would like to see more of that. I kind of like the exploring of like the witch like lore and stuff in this.
Yeah,
actually,
I'm fine
I
with
thought
it.
that was interesting.
You also create a whole new potential storyline later on with Jennifer Kale, right? Like that's the only one to leave the Witch's Road from the Coven
Right.
long term.
Right.
So, and apparently she's a big deal in Marvel Comics, and I don't know about that.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, like there's a character named Sarah who's in the Midnight Suns game, and she's also in stuff. I was surprised like she wasn't one of the witches, but I didn't know that any of the other characters were
Neither
comic
did I.
book characters.
Yeah. No, she's the only name that's come up. Like I haven't heard anything about Jennifer Wu at all, or Lorna Wu, the cover. By the way, can we all agree that cover of The Witch's Road, and like I think it was episode 4 where they're in the 70s, fantastic.
It's pretty fire.
That's
I
pretty
agree.
goddamn
I was sitting there tapping along.
Yeah.
I enjoyed
That
it.
was probably the only time that Marvel has music that will last.
No, I did enjoy the tune and that whole vibe.
That's a sad point.
Yeah.
Anything else before I?
No, I don't think.
go into it?
I think it's a good story that I'm looking forward to a conclusion of. Now you can go.
I agree. It is a good story, and I do like the show. Similar problem that I had with WandaVision, where the first 4 episodes I was like, "What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?" And I think WandaVision's gag of it, I was kind of like confused, and I haven't watched that review in a while, so I forget maybe what exactly I said, but it was like, okay, like what's going on here? Not exactly sure, but with this, I was kind of like, okay, like I don't even think I like even care what's going on here. Then we get to the middle, and I feel like 5, 6, 7, 8 are really good. And then the last episode, I think, kind of falls short for me.
Sure.
Maybe because it cliffhangs way too hard, and it doesn't really wrap up, spoilers, Billy Kaplan's story. I mean, Wanda's story pretty now connected to Billy and or Wiccan and I guess Speed.
Billy and
you
Tommy,
know?
yeah.
Billy and Tommy.
Which makes sense. But yeah, I just didn't like how it's like you. I think you could have like really completed this show without necessarily just hardcore cliffhanging us. You know, that was like I was like, oh come on, because we don't know when we're gonna get Wiccan again. You know,
What do you mean? It's Vision Quest.
are you?
Oh yeah, he's
Yeah,
confirmed.
that's
Joe
what-
Locke
that's
is
the whole-
confirmed for Vision Quest.
And I mean, I
But
guess
when
that's
is
just,
Vision Quest being made? Because
I
I feel like
assume
that
that's next.
show
I
in
would,
and of
I would
itself.
hope this year, like it's being made
Well, I mean,
this year for 26
when
release.
when was this? I mean, you got to. COVID still did fuck up a bunch of this. I mean, we
Vision
are
Quest
still
has
feeling
always
like,
been a show that I feel like we've talked about, but like it's not. We never saw a date for it.
No, we didn't. But they
Right,
confirmed
like-
it's still happening like very recently and stuff
Not like
that.
Armor Wars where it's just in
Right,
Right,
and that's
but even that Riri Williams
Ironheart.
we just saw
like-
a trailer for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, remember when it felt like it was like not gonna happen?
Yeah.
Like it just like
Again,
this
it's
is what I
like
mean.
most of that
It's a
stuff
bit
is
confusing.
happening, which is funny to me. Like, because you're right, we don't see a ton on it, and then it all of a sudden kind of pops.
On top of all that, for Marvel, this is probably the first time they've ever had a real life problem with one of their bigger actors, right?
Oh, with
like
Jonathan
with Jonathan
Majors.
Williams or Jonathan Majors. Like the
John
Williams.
Majors, what'd you do, man?
Yeah.
John Williams.
John Williams. Yeah, like with the Jonathan. So like their timeline is all sort of messed up right now. Like as far as production scheduling goes.
Yeah.
Because you have to now tie a loose end, which they kind of did in Loki season 2, but I'm sure.
I mean, they
it's not
kind
the
of
end
did it almost accidentally in. Oh yeah, Loki season 2,
Yeah,
where he goes,
yeah.
that Earth 1-6 adjacent thing. You know, seems
Well, no, he's like,
ramped up.
we're watching all the Kangs. They're all fine. We got them under control.
Yeah.
Everyone's good. All right, bye.
At the end of Ant-Man 2, you remember the part where there was a bunch of them? Because I do, right?
Yeah, I watched.
Well,
that.
we're watching them all now. They're good. They're not doing anything. No, yeah, I don't know. I think this pretty organically kind of expands upon what WandaVision sets up, and I think, of course, there's gonna be a bit of a cliffhanger because it's season 2 of a show, and we're going to get a season 3. But you can definitely do that in a more
Right, and the
satisfying
hashtag,
way.
it's all connected.
I think I was pretty satisfied with where we like left them as characters, and even where Billy kind of, he did have a lot of resolution in the way of like where he came from and what happened. But obviously, then we now have Tommy to find, which I think that's where Vision comes in.
I almost feel like we got too. So I agree with what you're saying in a manner, right? Like I think episode 8, if we're gonna be honest, is the season finale of Agatha All Along.
Yeah,
and
like, I'm
episode
like-
9 is very epilogue.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Heavy.
It
he
is the
just like
epilogue,
finished the
for
show.
sure.
Like, what are we doing in the last?
It is
episode?
funny. I was watching episode 8 this morning, and I'm like, did I click the wrong episode?
Yeah,
This
right.
feels like the last episode.
What are we doing? How
What's
do we
up
have an
next?
episode
Yeah.
9?
and then we get big flashback.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
But so like that's the weird thing about Marvel television, right? Like they do like if you stop the show at episode 8 and we just don't even have episode 9 and you just hear Agatha Harkness's voice, spoiler alerts, but at this point we're there, and you just hear her voice. I would argue that's still a very compelling ending to that
Right,
show,
yeah,
right?
exactly,
Like-
exactly.
And then they
like,
show,
she's back.
Right, she's back somehow. Somehow Palpatine's return.
Right.
Right. So you but like with
she's a
episode
magical
9,
character.
right,
She's a ghost.
Episode 9, you kind of just get the epilogue and where we're going into Vision Quest. So like if you look at it from that lens, I get it. And I don't think we got that in WandaVision because we kind of just got she flew off to a,
Yeah, we just didn't
place.
really, and it was very much setting up for Doctor Strange.
yeah.
Right, but like I think again, Wanda's a big character. Like we will definitely see the Scarlet Witch again. She's an Avenger character. I don't know if we knew when Multiverse of Madness was going to be at that point. I can't comment to that.
Excuse me.
What? they're-
Did we know
Europe?
Wanda was going to be in Multiverse of Madness when that
We
show
knew,
ended?
yeah, but we didn't know that
But
she
we
was going
didn't
to be
know
the
what she was gonna
villain.
be, yeah.
Right.
We thought she was
'Cause then-
fighting the villain.
Then we
with
get
him.
that scene with her in the cottage, and we hear
And it-
that
and
she
it
was
turns
in the
bad,
Darkhold.
and
And
yeah.
like again, yeah, setting up more, but like the storyline was complete. Like it didn't like totally cliffhanger. Like it like I don't know. It's a different kind of post credit scene.
Yeah.
For that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're kind of similar to me, honestly. Like I
Okay.
feel like it's very much
They do
like,
do the
there's-
same
I
thing
will
at the
say
end of the
though,
day.
the idea that I agree with you in the idea that like that's just a scene, and I think that accomplishes in a scene what this uses like a 30-minute episode for,
Right.
To like kind of play you out, to play us out. You know what that means
Yeah,
to play us out. Yeah,
Bill
but
O'Reilly. Yeah. There's no words on it.
there's no words on. I don't know. I think I enjoy having that set up and knowing that all right, Agatha and Billy are working together, and the next stop is probably Vision. I would assume.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it did a good job of giving us the epilogue that I think that story needs. Right? Like you go back, and the real problem, the real reason I think that it's important to have that epilogue episode is because of the Witch's Road being Billy Kaplan / Wiccan's mental anguish.
Do they? So I have a question on that. I thought that was a very good reveal.
Yes.
I like that a lot because like
That it was his thing.
yeah, I almost
Agatha,
feel like they
Wanda,
didn't need to. But again, I don't think they. Then this goes back to another thing you were saying earlier, like. And I think a lot of, it's not just Marvel, a lot of modern movies do this where they don't trust us to understand things. So they have to, like, they'll show us something and then have to state it 3 more times to the audience after to make sure you understand. And I think that can become an issue. Whereas, like, in this, they tell you it's the road, but then they flash back to Agatha being like, because she's clearly surprised when it opens up. She's been just using this as a fucking trap to get witches all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then basically Billy wills it into existence because he needs to get away from those witches. I was like, this is very cool. You don't necessarily need to show back to Agatha having that realization to like drive that point home for me.
No, I think you could have just had the same scene where you're learning that like, oh, she made this up. Like,
Yeah.
And then just not had the look to the camera, right?
Because, like,
we already saw the look to the camera.
Well, and
In
we
episode
already
1.
got that information before
2,
Billy
whatever.
had it too. So like we saw the whole flashback, but then she had to explain it to Billy because
Right.
Billy didn't know that. He just knew that he created the road or whatever happened on the road.
Exposition for exposition's sake.
Exactly. And again, I don't think that's just a Marvel issue. I think that's a lot of movies and TV shows these
Sometimes
days.
the audience is just fucking stupid.
Well, sometimes they are, but sometimes I just think they think we're stupider than we are, and then that also makes audiences more stupid. So then they are just always expecting,
I'm now
to be
expecting
kind of
exposition.
spoon-fed something. You know what I mean? And it's funny. I got into not an argument, but with my roommate about Dune because he was like, "I don't understand why this is happening." I'm like, "You don't necessarily." I'm like, "You understand in this like it was something when in the second movie when Jessica took the water of life." I was like, okay, you don't know why she's all fucked up, but you know it's bad that she's fucked up, right? And he's like, yes. I'm like, well, that's the thing that you need to know right now. It's not like back when we saw Star Wars, you saw Darth Vader, and they took a moment to be like, well, this is Darth Vader. He came from the Clone Wars, and he went down blah, 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 blah. Like, that's just not how things used to be done. And I think, unfortunately, modern movies and shows think we're expecting that.
Yeah.
But that's a long ramble to say, we're not dumb. I don't think so.
So Frank, you watched it week to week, pretty much.
Yeah, I was watching week to week.
Okay.
So was it not very obvious that Joe Locke was supposed to be Wiccan?
Oh, it was incredibly obvious.
Yeah,
I feel like that
it's
wasn't
funny
even like
too.
a,
like
yeah.
they hit it for like
2 seconds.
4 episodes, but I'm like this is like fairly
You
obvious.
know he's Wiccan, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
It's
Maybe
very
not
obvious.
the really the how of it, which I find pretty interesting.
I do too.
Where we
I
get our
actually
first
really enjoy the how of it.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's pretty apparent pretty early on. Like, there's this random boy.
and he can't say his
also
name.
from Westview.
Right.
Like, you
Yeah.
can kind of put 2 and 2 together pretty quickly. But it's like, all right, well, the reveal is cool, right? Like, I waited this long for the reveal. And it's funny because in the Discord, I specifically said, call me when episode 5 drops.
Yeah.
Because I know something's gonna. That's just the Marvel TV formula.
Right.
Episode 5, we're gonna get some crazy cliffhanger.
And I got like kind of spoiled on that. I was like, well, yeah.
Again,
like I didn't really ruin anything. And even Death, Rio being Death, and us getting introduced to like the Marvel version of Death, who is like
Lady Death.
a Lady
That's
Death.
Yep.
Yeah, which I was kind of like, yeah, it kind of sucks we didn't get this with Thanos
I kind of agree with that
because
but-
it's such a better
I
meeting.
will
don't
say,
know.
I wonder, and this is just me fan service.
Are
I
they
wonder
gonna
if-
like
I
retcon
wonder
it?
if I wonder if RDJ's Doom is gonna have something like take the Thanos role. I'm curious.
Huh.
That's just my thought.
Well,
because you
that
have
seems
to-
like, I mean,
theory.
it's Doomsday. I think that is like what they're
I think
planning
that's
on for
my
those two, for
theory
sure.
As of right now, is that there has to be something because you don't just introduce Death and then be like, all right, we'll see.
ya.
you-
Oh,
see you
what,
in
you
Vision
think
Quest.
he's going to connect to Death? See,
Yeah.
I don't think she's going to be a major player at all. Like, I don't think she's going to be
So
the
that's
Death
my
that-
complaint about like why introduce
Why
her if
introduce
she's
her?
not a larger
Because not
part of
every
it.
character needs to be exactly what they are in a comic book, and you
Sure.
need to use them
Right,
within
but
the
that's
setup
what
that you have.
she is.
If you create this celestial being, right, whether it's Eternity in Thor: Love and Thunder, who was, let's all agree, quite a bit of a letdown. I mean, that could have been done with a totem, right?
Sure.
and what was it in Eternals?
The Celestials?
The
Or
actual Celestials,
yeah.
right? And then
Egon the Searcher or whatever,
Egon
like
the
the
Searcher,
one
yeah.
we see, the big one with
Yeah.
that has the purple stone.
Yeah.
Again, these are set. I don't know. They're just set dressing characters
you
to
create
me.
These
Like,
gigantic celestial beings, they have to have some sort of overarching reason to be a part of a story.
Yeah.
Eternities was clearly done wrong, period. Egon the Searcher, if they ever make an Eternals 2, might be done well.
Oh, Arishem is in Eternals.
Arishem.
But like one of those Eternals. Like we saw that character in Guardians 1, but we didn't get another Eternal character until Eternals.
I guess I just don't care. Like I don't
Yeah,
care about
I
these
hear
characters
you.
enough.
No,
and like
I agree
I
with
think
you.
that death, even the whole like storyline with Thanos, like that's fine and cool, but like I don't think that works in a movie when you try to directly translate that to the screen.
I don't think it's going to be 1-to-1.
Right.
I do think she's going to be a big. I mean, also it was Aubrey Plaza, so
That's a big casting.
That's a big.
Sure, no, definitely.
I just have to think that they're doing something else with her.
Right, because you don't cast that big of an actor to be like, she's a real
I don't think she's that big of an actor too, though. Like I think everyone knows her, but like she's Aubrey Plaza.
It's a
I
star
would
power.
say that's a pretty big actor.
Yeah,
I don't know. I
think a lot of people
I would
know her and
disagree
like
that
her.
she's
That's
not,
fair. That's
yeah.
totally fair. I just don't think she's on the level of
Because
like.
guess what you
I
said
don't
when you
know,
go,
really.
oh yeah, have you watched Agatha all along? Kathryn Hahn and Aubrey Plaza are in it.
Like
Right.
a kiss.
Yeah,
just remote.
that's what you say. Like,
But like you're not introducing in death in a show to use her in the movie role like for a major reason later. I just don't think she's
Maybe
she's not. Listen, I could totally be wrong.
Maybe she plays a deeper role in just Marvel television, and that's
Yeah,
also
that would
fine,
make sense to me more
but
than
like,
that.
I just
yeah.
think this is not the only time we will see Mistress.
right, her coming back.
Oh,
for
I agree.
Vision
She'll be in
Quest,
Vision Quest.
If
Yeah.
if Tommy's reincarnation happens the same way that Billy does, would make sense. But let's talk about that because I thought that was like very cool, and it actually that's pretty much how it happens in the comics in a way that
Really?
he
Finds a soul.
Yeah, he gets like reborn
Interesting.
and become like he's not Billy Maximoff, he's Billy Kaplan. Wiccan is Billy Kaplan in the comics, and it happens in a similar fashion where he just comes back after because like Wanda like creates them.
I think
impregnates
Yeah, I was
herself.
gonna say, I think in the comics it's like a part of the soul of the devil or something.
Right.
Yeah, Mephisto,
right? Yeah.
who is
Right.
referenced in the show.
Old Scratch.
Yeah.
Good old Scratch.
See, I mean, doesn't like Doom has like it's so funny how little I know about Doctor Doom, but like I know one of his origins is like his mom's a witch and she's trapped in hell and he's trying to get her out of hell.
I mean, there's
and that's why he's using
I mean,
sorcery.
you really want to go down that
I
rabbit
mean, I just
hole?
don't. I guess
Doctor
like
Doom is
like that's where I could see them.
Agatha's son. Boom.
Is really?
Oh,
no. Wow. I was gonna be like,
No,
whoa.
but let's all hope that happens and come back to this in 2028.
We pull it back.
That would be
But
nuts.
like I think you can bring a lot of sorcery and witchcraft in with Doom. So where that connection is, I think that does make sense, and I think you could have that.
He does
Come into
have-
play?
He does have magical power.
Well, that's the thing. In the comics,
Doom,
he's just
yeah.
a guy with he just has a messed up face and he uses magic. Like for the most. I mean, it is funny how in every movie and whatever he's like a fucked up dude with like electrical weird powers or something like that. Yeah. Well, in that he's just like some type of weird like
Rock man.
like scanner monster. He just blows up people's heads and stuff. It's wild. That could have been a good movie.
But back to that Billy flashback.
Yeah.
I did really enjoy that.
I did too.
'Cause I found it kind of cool because I hated the Mayor of Easttown thing in the first episode, by the way.
You didn't like that?
No, I thought it was actually...
Well, I feel like-
Agnes of Westview, right?
But like it was
Yeah,
supposed
yeah.
to be campy,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
it was supposed
I just didn't
to be
find
bad.
it funny.
Sure,
I think it's
yeah.
supposed to be like that.
That's
We're
fair.
obviously bleeding from WandaVision, right? So here's the WandaVision.
Right. I just
throwaway.
was like, you know...
I thought
like,
it was fun, but I also thought it was really fun when we saw it from Joe Locke and Wiccan's perspective.
I felt like we got out of it quick too.
Liar.
Yeah.
that, in my opinion, that part was more interesting. But yeah, like discovering that like that car accident was... there because of him was interesting, and
Right.
like, how
Well,
he
so it
came
was
to
there
be.
because of Wanda, right? Like when did that
Wanda
caused that like pulse that fucked up their
Yes.
car?
Yeah,
right?
Well,
And
no,
then-
it's like they're all focusing on the fact that
They're not looking at the
spell
road.
is shrinking.
That's
and
really
they're
why
not
they got in a
paying
car
attention.
accident.
Yeah.
And then so that must be when Wanda is
Distracted
closing the hex, right?
Yes.
That's when she's killing, like destroying her kids, and
She's
and,
saying
and-
goodbye and goodnight.
Yeah,
Right,
so they get in a
right.
car accident because they're looking at it, and then it happens after that. I was about to say Joe Locke.
Joe Locke.
William Kaplan dies, and then Billy's spirit inhabits
His soul.
him, his
right?
soul.
his body, yeah, like his
Yeah.
body, right?
He
Yeah.
Because
essentially found a hub.
Yeah.
an empty
Right,
hub.
closest thing.
Closest thing.
Right.
And now they're saying that same thing is going to happen with Speed.
Remind me.
Or did already.
right, right.
Yeah.
How old was he when they said they were like 8, right?
They
Or
were
10?
probably in their young, like preteens. Is
That's
my
what I
guess.
thought.
And then
And
they
he
were at
goes
the
in-
end of that. show, which is a fun little thing, like they were about to age up again.
Oh, that's right. I forget they were like
Agatha.
aging very quickly.
Oh yeah.
Because I was like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
so fucked up to go from like an 8-year-old
But they also
body.
aged him up again.
Right.
you
I
know?
was just thinking like
And
psychologically
I think
going
this
from an 8-year-old
version
body.
of like the age of Joe Locke and the Wiccan character, like this makes more sense for a young Avengers.
Right.
timeline,
Yeah, if we
right?
actually ever see that.
Right. That's another
20,
thing.
You
Where
know,
it's like,
again,
you know,
Young Avengers is like, okay.
Haley Steinfeld's gonna be like 45.
Right.
I know, like, yeah, like
Young
the-
Avengers with
yeah,
adults.
20-year-olds, yeah.
It's like with Batman and Robin's just another 22-year-old man.
Right.
Like,
well,
uh,
again, it's like Spider-Man 1 when Joe Manganiello is in high school at 35 years old.
Yeah.
you know?
well, and that was more normal.
Flashbacks.
Again, yeah, that's the time. Like, oh man.
At least Joe Locke's the
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe Locke.
I really liked his look. I thought his outfit
Wiccan?
was very dope. Yeah, like all of the little nods to both of his parents and stuff like that. I'm actually like very intrigued to see an interaction between him and Vision, and then obviously what they're gonna do with Tommy, because I think the implication is obviously that in that moment he did put Tommy in another body,
Yes. Yeah. I think
and
that's the-
now they're gonna go find him on.
You think Vision did it?
No.
Wiccan.
Wiccan did it. With,
Oh.
and now they have to go
yeah,
on a
yeah.
vision quest to find Tommy. So I think the setup is actually really fantastic, and I like a lot where we leave our characters. Yes, would have been nice if Agatha died and stayed dead. Yes, but
I
think
dig the
her-
ghost thing.
I
'Cause
think it's-
that's
yeah,
a comic book thing where she's a ghost.
And
Yeah,
I
think
like
it's give or take.
for sure. Yeah, I agree with you.
I think Kathryn Hahn works as a supporting side character really
Absolutely,
well.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I know she was also, for the most part, she was a supporting character for the show. Like, obviously,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
you're
Agatha
not
all along.
you're
but,
not wrong.
But like the main character is Billy's Wiccan, and even if you don't really realize it until 4 or 5 episodes in, like it's still the truth.
Well,
like, this
and I
is
would say
Wiccan's story.
they're co-leading from the beginning almost.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
even
From
like,
episode 1, yeah.
And again, I think from the people who are watching and really understand this stuff, that I would hope that they don't think they're hiding that from anyone. That he is obviously
Billy
Wiccan,
Madison,
or that he is obviously Billy. So I was almost settled into the fact that this was the Wiccan show by the second episode.
Yeah.
I was
Okay.
like, oh, this is, and I get it. I see what they're doing.
We
They're
can't call it Wiccan,
No,
right?
we can't. We're almost misdirecting you and using Agatha as the vehicle to deliver the story. And I think that there are some interesting revelations with her backstory and about her son. And I guess so. That whole story of us seeing her get fucking killed by the witches is fake, right?
Her killed by the witches.
So in WandaVision, we have the flashback of her being sacrificed by her coven.
Right, because they
Is that after
no,
she
that
killed?
would be the timeline there. We're talking about in WandaVision when we learn Agatha's backstory.
Right.
right.
That
the
is
one
before,
scene. Yeah.
the one scene.
Yeah.
It's before she has the kid.
Okay, but then
The timeline is it's that then she has a
then
child.
she finds another coven,
and then
that
she continues to find covens that she can steal.
Well, but no, see,
Oh.
okay, so that I read it as that came after that the magic sucking came after her after she killed covens.
Well, they're not
think
sucking her
because
mat. Well,
or they're trying
that's
to kill.
what
They're
that's
trying
what
to
they're
kill
trying
her,
to do.
and then she takes it.
Right,
Right.
but once it's explained like once she gets hit with your magic, her power is she can take it.
Yeah, she can take it.
And then the timeline is because of the timestamp of the final episode. With
Right.
the
And she
epilogue.
kills her mom there too, right?
Yes. And she kills her
Okay.
mom there.
So that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay,
Because
and then
then
after that
she
she has-
starts to do that again and again and
I
again
think
and again.
I think it's implied, and it's never with the Lady Death meeting. Like they met over the bodies of her coven. I think that's the implication, and Joe Schaefer's kind of said that.
And then the the son happened after that.
after that, yeah,
And then
whatever the.
and the
Yeah.
son is birthed from magic.
I don't think it's explained.
Yeah, we
I
never
think
know
it's
who the
done.
dad
I
is.
think that's done on purpose. I think that's something else that'll get explained, and that'll be her conclusion of Agatha's story.
Nicholas
Vision.
Scratch
Yeah.
is in the comics her son. Like that's
Right.
it's a bit different in the
think we're
comics.
gonna
He's
get
like
an
a
original-
villain
yeah,
in the
yeah.
comics. Yeah, I think we'll get like a pretty different take on that.
Yeah,
but
but
I think it'll end with Vision Quest as the end of Agatha's overarching story.
Or this WandaVision
this whole
set of characters.
exactly
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
whole universe. corner of the universe.
I think that makes me look at it a bit more positively.
Same here.
I never really looked at it like that for some reason. That
They didn't do
that
a good
like
job of
Agatha
explaining
all
it.
along, obviously a continuation of WandaVision, but the fact that like whatever they're doing, not just involves Agatha, but like all the characters. I hope fucking to God that they don't bring back Scarlet Witch. I will be so.
I think she'll be back.
Angry.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I know.
The fact that they left her.
Elizabeth Olsen's been kind of up in the air about it.
She
was pretty negative off
So
of
was Andrew Garfield.
She was pretty negative off Multiverse of Madness. So.
I think everybody was.
Yeah,
she
I
didn't
think
really
because I don't think she was happy with her dying.
I think she wasn't happy. She wasn't satisfied with the Scarlet Witch's conclusion. But
Right, because it all just kind of goes to shit
Yeah.
real fucking fast if you think about it, which makes sense. But yeah, it's just like, oh, she's evil, now she's dead. Bye.
Yeah.
You know, like.
But that works so well in that
We
movie.
never saw a body.
Like,
I'm not saying it doesn't.
No, I know.
I'm not saying
I'm
it
speaking
doesn't.
to the
But
people out
does
there.
it service Scarlet Witch as a character that we've seen since Age of Ultron? Not really.
Well, and
so the whole story about Scarlet Witch, right, is hurt people, right? That's the whole story of all of this. Is there's this generational trauma, right? If you begin with Scarlet Witch and what she went through with her brother, with her family, like they got bombed, Stark Technology. We get
They were in a lab.
They were in a lab. Then she has Westview, where it's all her trauma of losing all of her loved ones, or especially the ones she loved the most in Vision.
where she can have full control.
Of full control of this. So it's generational trauma of hurt people, right? Like, she hurt everyone in Westview. And
Right.
now Billy Kaplan is potentially having these same
So you
kind of
think he's
problems.
gonna do,
of
like,
hurt
something
people.
similar?
Hurt people. I mean, hell, it's implied that Billy Kaplan kills a kid.
Well, and he's even but I thought that was taken back now because Agatha.
I think he was gonna die no matter what.
Well, and I think that was Agatha even saying, she's like, sometimes boys just die. Like, I think I don't think he killed William going into his body, and I don't think he killed a kid to put Tommy into a body.
No, but like the hurt people's comes
Yeah.
up if you include Mrs. Hart being.
I was gonna say,
dead, Jennifer Wu died.
Didn't really understand her fucking inclusion.
I think she was comic relief.
It was like, it was so. I mean, I know that actress is huge.
which one?
Deborah Jo Rupp.
Yeah.
The seer?
No.
Like the
Mrs. Hart.
Mrs. Hart.
which one's Mrs. Hart?
Deborah Jo Rupp.
Oh.
That 70s show actress.
Yeah,
right,
she's a
right,
big
right,
name,
right,
and it's just like, what is? Yeah, like,
So
I'm
is
like,
Patty LuPone, though. You know.
Yeah, I'm like, what is
Well,
going
and they
on?
throw
here?
her out so quickly too.
And I
think
thought
it was
that,
more
I
they
was
just
like,
brought
when
it-
is that gonna come back? I was like, is something gonna
No,
happen?
I know
with
it was
that?
too. I'm like, oh, she's dead. Like, she's actually dead.
I think it was just like a
death.
throwaway bit. Yeah.
Well,
Or
and
death
also-
killed her.
or maybe
to
it's a
do
reason
something.
for death to come, right?
Well, it is because
Well,
they
but
need a new
I
Green
thought-
Witch.
I think it's more the idea that like Billy killed her.
Yeah.
Like, he's the reason
Yeah,
she's
he's the
dead.
reason she's dead.
Oh yeah,
And like
yeah.
he even I think that, like you're saying, that's where it comes in. Like, now he realized in that moment, like, oh, the road never existed. I created it, and then everything that happened because I created it. He is taking
His
responsibility for that.
generational trauma is. I was created kind of in bullshit.
I mean,
and then
it happens.
and
It's like weekly trauma,
right,
because
and then I feel guilty about killing Billy Kaplan, right? And now I've killed Deborah Jo Rupp, Jennifer Wu, and wasn't there
The seer woman. I
the
can't
seer.
remember her name.
Yeah,
I actually
Lilia?
really liked her
Lilia?
character.
Lilia.
I think
Lilia?
so, Lilia. Yeah, that sounds about
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
I liked
her.
I loved
Yeah.
her a
Yeah,
lot.
I liked
actually.
her parts a lot.
I think aside from
As being like
her
the
from that-
oldest witch. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think aside from that 70 show lady, I found the Coven actually very strong. I
did I.
enjoyed most of their characterizations. I thought, like you said, that the one woman at the end who kind of got the catharsis of getting her powers back, and
Jennifer
Agatha.
Kale, whose
yeah,
name
and,
the actress's name I don't.
right. Yeah, and I thought that was great. It was kind of sad to see what's her name, the one whose mom wrote the song, die, and then
Lorna Wu and her daughter, whose name is escaping.
And it was like that sad moment when Death takes her, and she's like, "What the fuck? I have so much I can do." And she's like, "You're a protector. You died protecting someone." And
They
she's
did
like,
a really good job of making us care really quickly about characters
I agree.
that they were going to kill.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, for us,
I
anyways.
don't know if I necessarily.
Well,
agree.
okay, if you exclude Deborah Jo Rupp's character.
Again, that's a
for some reason
comedic relief.
again until episode 5, like even with the one witch who died, the girl who's the
Protector Witch.
Right.
Yeah.
When she died, I was like,
In the moment, she's dead. And,
I didn't really care. And then, like, again with Lilia and like episode 5 and 6, for some reason I started caring. But like everything up until that, I was like, we're just going, it's like trial of the week episodes, and then it gets a little bit more interesting. But I thought the episodes and like the banter was just kind of stale for me. But I did really like the not double downing, but like keeping Agatha evil.
Right.
and like how
She didn't change, right?
Yeah.
Like, she
yeah.
just-
But like I think in another time, and maybe if this was a movie, Agatha becomes good.
yeah.
You know, like I think that's like again.
Redemption.
And I think
arc.
she does. Like she
We've
has
seen
a
it with
bit
Scarlet.
of
We saw it with
but yeah.
Scarlet Witch. Like,
We're
like
probably
we-
gonna see it again.
Yeah, we've seen where these bad characters become like good and they become good guys. I'm sure there's another example in the MCU.
I think the
like
fact
that,
they gave
but-
us stakes matters, though, right? Like, because in most of these Marvel television shows, we haven't seen anybody die, right? And in most of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we've had like 4 deaths that mattered.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Definitely
and,
not. Double
And they did a
digits.
really bad job with Maria Hill at the beginning of Secret Invasion and just killing her.
We don't talk about Secret Invasion.
That's not
Yeah,
canon.
No, oh my god.
But my point is that,
you
like,
had to like remind.
I
me
know,
of
right?
that.
I forgot it was
That
a TV
is
show.
wild. I did forget.
I forgot it was a TV show until right now.
Gee. And I
But, like-
love Maria Hill. I
So did
love
I.
Shield. See what
R.I.P.
Secret.
R.I.P.
See
Maria
what Bad
Hill
Marvel
and Kobe
does to
Smulders.
us. We just forget.
But like, so they
block
gave
it
us
out.
a good job. They did a good job in comparison to something like that. Of like, we didn't just kill
Yeah,
characters to kill characters.
I
We
will
killed
give you
characters
that
to
any
give
day
you
of the week.
That is the
story
fucked up thing. I
that
cared more
matter.
about these witches dying than I did about Maria Hill dying in fucking
Secret
Secret Wars.
Invasion.
Yeah, like it's Secret Invasion. Yeah, like it's. I think they did a great job characterizing all of these characters.
They made
yeah.
him human, right?
Yeah.
Like Mrs. Hart was just there for the ride, right? Like, or that's not her.
Well, she
Mrs.
got
Davis.
Poison,
Yeah.
yeah.
She was there for the ride,
Sharon,
and then
definitely
yeah.
the weakest for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, okay, she died. I don't really care, but like, it's crazy that she just went along with them and
I
died.
do like the return to like, hey, like here are the people from WandaVision and they're like living their lives, but they clearly, you know, they all have this trauma in common. This whole
hurt
town.
people hurt people.
Again, I mean, WandaVision, I still think like that show. I actually rewatched one episode just because I was curious, and it was like the Malcolm in the Middle one, like right after Pietro's introduced. I do think that show's really fantastic.
So glad you brought him up because we were talking about that flashback.
Oh, Ralph Boner.
Yeah, they brought back Ralph Boner.
And you
like,
notice that she's wearing the shirt, the Boner family reunion.
Yeah,
and the-
yeah. I thought it was funny that they brought him back and like, look what Agatha and Wanda.
It was really Wanda. Yeah, I mean,
look-
Wanda was doing all that.
Yeah, right, but Agatha took his house.
Oh, right. Duh.
And,
I forgot.
and
Yeah.
turned him into.
Right. He specifically got
He
got by her.
specifically
Right.
was a part of this whole thing.
Yeah,
Right.
like look what they did to him.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, he's like, you know, Alex Jones type, very conspiratorial,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you know, using like, you know,
Kind of
screen
sort of
names.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing in WandaVision we didn't like how like it was just like Ralph Boner and it was
Right.
like a
Oh,
dick
definitely,
joke.
yeah.
You give him this really deep part.
Yeah, and then it ends up being nothing. But then he comes back in Agatha all along. It's like, okay,
Bit more of a payoff.
Now this means something a
Right,
little bit.
right.
So good retcon in this case,
I agree,
where they
yeah.
decide to be like, yeah, let's bring
Or
him
even,
back.
I wouldn't
for a
even call
scene.
that like a retcon. I'd call that like a building upon his story.
His story,
Sure,
Yeah, like-
sure.
Yeah.
But,
you don't get
no,
that
for
at
sure.
the end of WandaVision, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to think. And I mean, should we talk about the death a little bit? Was there anything else? I think we did kind of cover death.
Lady Death, I think, was portrayed well.
Yeah.
I think Aubrey Plaza did a good job. Aubrey Plaza did a good job of hiding it, even if it was obvious.
Again, when you were watching this, you didn't know.
I wouldn't have known.
did. I knew this character was
Yeah,
going to be Death.
same.
So I was kind of watching her in a different lens. But like, she does a lot of things. Like she's sus. She's
Yeah.
real sus the
Absolutely.
whole time. like in her inclusion, she's just there.
Yeah.
You had a relationship with Agatha. You know, she tells her that this kid isn't Nicholas Scratch because I guess she has those like thoughts. Like, is
I think
this
by
my
episode
son?
3, it starts to become really obvious because I
Right.
think Jen says,
And with the mic in the room.
yeah, that,
Yeah.
and then also they met over bodies,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah, that is. I would have liked to not know that definitely because I would have loved to kind of see if I could have figured that out.
Yeah.
I just knew like you did, Gooch. So
Yeah, I think during the watch, like, you know what I mean, the week by week watch, it was still like a fun little like,
what's going on?
what's
Yeah,
happening?
right,
Like
right.
it seems like she's dead, but maybe she's not.
Yeah.
So it was definitely like an interesting. That's a character I would like to see them expand upon more.
Death?
You know? Like yeah.
Yeah, but that like it's just the sad thing of like it's got to happen really.
It's
well.
either
You know?
it's either in Vision Quest or in Doctor Strange 3 because nothing else makes sense
or both.
or both. But nothing else makes sense, right? Because if she's a magic user,
And we've already been through the storyline where she is most prevalent.
yeah.
You know,
I think her story is gonna get closed out with Agatha. Genuinely.
Okay.
Like I think in
I think
Vision Quest that
fine.
might be the last
I
time
do
we
like
see her.
Frank. I do like that theory, man.
Yeah, I do too,
that's
also, yeah.
Like if that comes true, I heard it here first.
Right here.
Yeah.
Right here. I mean, we covered all my notes.
Got through the whole note list.
Yeah, we did. I mean, all the major ones, anyways.
I'm trying to think of anything else. This is a pretty contained show.
I was gonna say,
But that's the problem with Marvel Television. They don't do that very well until now. And like if you consider Loki a contained show, sure, but it has implications.
It is and it's very much not.
Right.
Like
it has all these implications to the greater universe, right? And whereas this is like this is the fallout from all of those arguably terrible things that Wanda did in Westview.
I don't want to say inarguable. Like, yeah, they are terrible.
They are like hurt people. Hurt people. Like she's
Yeah.
created this whole generational trauma timeline of like now her kids are gonna go out and probably like to figure out what they are, hurt more people. Because that's what happened, right? Wiccan had to kill people essentially to figure out who he was, and that it was okay to be who he was. You know, like the combination of Billy Kaplan and
do
Billy
you think
Maxwell.
this is a big far out question? Do you think Young Avengers has to do with Wiccan and Speed and their stories? Because like obviously like Kamala Khan is. Her story's not strong enough to bring in a villain from her. Same with Hawkeye. Like Wiccan and Speed, though, whatever
brings
their
the Young Avengers
stories
together.
right?
Yeah.
What like that story being carried over into Young Avengers seems likely out of the 4 characters we have. We don't know what's happening with Ironheart yet. We're gonna see that, but like, yeah.
Or Black Panther, really. Because Shuri's.
Well, they have that Eyes of Wakanda show coming and stuff like that. That's like filmed and like they put out a thing for.
What is the like synopsis of that?
I don't remember. I'd have to look it up.
It seems like ground level Wakanda is what I'm gathering.
But who's the main character?
I think it's like different eras of Wakanda or something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
But
they're just expanding on Wakanda as like lore.
Yeah.
To probably bring into something they're going to do.
Well, I mean, they're going to time travel what's his name, T'Challa to adult size within the next 2 years.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like there's going to be some type of time dilation, whatever. And he's
that
gonna be
movie was
the-
like 2 years ago. Already.
I still think that they. Listen.
Did you like Wakanda Forever?
It was.
I mean, we talked about it. That was a tough movie to do. Like
It's
kind of hard to fault it.
If you put it in context of what they did, given the hand they were dealt, I would say it was well done. You know
the Riri Williams stuff, I think, is the only problem I really have.
You had to soft launch Riri Williams somehow, and if you were gonna do it, it was there.
Yeah, she was like just part of the MacGuffin, and I just didn't feel great.
I just felt like, listen, it's terrible what happened to Chadwick Boseman. You should obviously honor his like legacy and all that. I think it was very dumb to not recast him. Like you just shelve this character for years on end.
They do kind of create more problems.
And
for themselves. You're right.
I don't like. I think that they're apparently recasting what's his name for Star Wars for Ahsoka. Balin Skull. Balin Skull.
Yeah.
And I think
because he died.
I just think we have to be more. And I get it. It's tough in the moment. He was a very well beloved actor.
I think
he died from a very sad disease and like
I think they needed more time if they were going to do a recast. And the problem was probably more the Disney time.
Well, easy variant.
And then there was also this thing they were like, who's it gonna be? Who's the... It's like, well, it's obviously his fucking sister. Who else would it be?
Did you see that Cress Williams got casted in something from Eyes of Wakanda?
I didn't. Who was Cress Williams?
Cress Williams played Black Lightning on the CW show.
Oh, right.
I mean, this would be...
I think it's a lion or something. Yeah,
dude, I'm like... Cress Williams is fucking Black Panther? I think
too
we can
old.
do that.
Way too old.
Yeah, he is too
That's
old.
not going to happen.
He's probably
he's
50.
I mean, the whole point of Black Lightning is he's like an older dad character. He
Is that
was
how he
great in
always
that
is?
show. Black Lightning?
Yeah, he's like always older.
He's
yeah.
usually older, not younger.
That makes sense.
But yeah, in that, it was like, the thing with Black Lightning was like he was a young Black Lightning, and we're now like he's been retired and he has kids and he's like a principal.
Right.
That show is really good in my opinion. And
was that contained in its own universe?
No, it was yes, but no.
It was on CW, right? But it
Arrowverse.
wasn't like in the same technical universe.
He was in
right?
the crossovers, and he was at the Crisis on Infinite Earth. But I think they did a good job with that show overall, and the castings were pretty good. But yeah, we're totally off topic. It's fine. What is next for Marvel? Falcon or
Captain America?
What the fuck's it called?
Captain
Brave New
America,
World.
Brave New World.
Yeah, is that
Seth
next?
Rollins is in that. Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah, I mean, dude, we had no MCU movies this year.
Yeah,
Is What If next?
I think so. Here, let me.
Deadpool Wolverine was
an MCU.
Well, that's true.
But again,
that's right. Yeah,
almost doesn't count. It was such a different
No, but I mean,
That
but
was
it
mostly-
isn't like it's an MCU movie. Like
that
it's
was mostly
like it's,
the kind of like the fallout of Loki, right? Like they said like there was new management upstairs and we don't agree with their view. So like
Right.
Loki,
Yeah.
Fallout of
Definitely.
Loki.
Definitely. Are you looking it up?
I am
Just to be
I
sure.
mean,
I think that is
it's
correct.
What If, because I
That's-
think What If drops in the week of Christmas.
No, you're right. Yeah, it's What
right?
If.
The final season.
yeah, I
of What
think
If.
you're right. What if?
I'm actually very happy to know that they're ending What If with season 3. Like they could just keep going and going and going and going and going
Forever.
Yeah, they really could just keep mining it. I mean, you'd eventually get to a point where it's like, what are we doing?
Every other year, once
Yeah,
every
so the
other
next
year, you create
movie's
new
Cap.
characters.
Sorry, my apologies. I just
And
stepped right over you.
did you hear that got like a bad
bombed,
screening?
apparently. Yeah.
I know. I don't really take those until like we get like reviews because like we hear that I've heard movies
that
are
movie's gonna be
amazing that we've
bad,
gotten on
man.
that and then it's like
Well,
terrible.
it's built around the Eternals, right? Like
So
what
that's
the,
supposedly has something to do
There's
with
a
it.
scene where they're fighting near what's his face?
Near the big thing, yeah. Supposedly that's
big
where
stone thing.
Yeah.
yeah, the big stone man. Yeah, I
they're
don't
gonna get
know.
all
I mean,
the
that went through
adamantium.
some reshoots too.
Yeah.
I liked the last trailer a lot. I liked actually both the trailers.
I think in a
I mean, I like the trailers for Secret Invasion.
yes, me too.
You know?
I don't remember like being like this looks great.
But it
honestly.
was like, oh, Winter Soldier type thing? Great.
yeah,
you know, they-
true.
They
Yeah.
really did pitch a grounded, gritty Winter Soldier vibe, and that's not what we got. But
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I think it'll be an interesting launching point for like the next steps of the grounded MCU, like still on Earth, not the celestial time traveling multiverse nonsense that we've been doing. But I also don't know how good it's gonna be. Like Captain America, all 3 of those movies, I would say tell a pretty decent story, like of grounded. Captain America: Civil War is based on
It's my second favorite trilogy in Marvel. I think.
like and Captain Civil War is based on democratic immunity essentially, and Winter Soldier is an assassin gone rogue. So
That's like deep state, like
yeah, so like
intrigue.
it's
yeah.
a very Captain America's always been very grounded. Obviously,
I mean, what I love about those.
stuff he's not, but like his own
Yeah.
movies are
Yeah.
very grounded.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
even think
yeah.
I just the thing I love about Cap's movies a lot is that like his first movie is a period piece. It's a World War II like war movie basically. Second movie is an espionage thriller. And then the third movie is just almost another Avengers movie in and of itself. So, listen, I think that they can do very well. I'm actually the most excited for Thunderbolts. I
am too.
I am like blown away by those trailers, and for a bunch of just
I
punchy
like a
power
3-minute
people.
trailer, man. It was long.
Yeah.
Dude,
You know?
well, and
I noticed
just,
I didn't talk about the runtime.
right.
I brought it up as a joke.
What
but
is the
like-
runtime? I don't know. Is
No,
it,
not for Thunderbolts.
oh,
For
Agatha
Agatha All
All
Along.
Oh, right.
I mean, we do have like a meaty 50-minute, but then we have like a 35.
Well, I think we kind of talked that. We were kind of talking about that at the beginning too, where I was like, they can be
It's
45
serviced
minutes.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it would be much more damning if like Obi-Wan runtimes were what we got for Agatha All Along, right? Like Obi-Wan, there were a couple 25-minute episodes. And I'm like, what the fuck am I watching?
That should have just been a
like,
movie,
right? Like
yeah.
you could have just turned this into a movie if you didn't have the length to do it. That's fine. Like,
I interrupted you.
Oh no, you're fine. No, I'm like incredibly excited for Thunderbolts. I never thought I'd say that. It's a bunch of weird, punchy, powered people that I thought would be kind of boring together, but like their banter seems great. That moment where he's like, the Winter Soldier, the guy, Red Guardian, he's like, oh, the Winter Soldier's so cool. He's obviously a fan.
He's
'cause when he-
fangirling for the
yeah,
Winter
for the Winter
Soldier,
Soldier.
yeah.
And even their interactions, the chemistry seems to be there. Ghost is gonna die in the first 2 minutes, but that's fine.
So Ghost is our Slipknot. Of
I'm assuming
Suicide
just
Squad?
because like there's a lot of
Someone's gotta
pictures with them and she's not
there.
there for
True.
the
Yeah, and she's everyone was like Ghost from Ant-Man and the
right.
Wasp.
Which
Like,
it's
who
unfortunate though
cares?
too because
her
I think
whole thing was
her
to get
thing could be interesting.
healed, right?
Right.
Yeah, and that's what Ant-Man was doing. at
Did
the
they
end
cure
when
her
he got-
though? I don't remember. I don't even
We're
remember.
gonna
how
find
that's-
out.
Yeah.
I thought
We're
they
gonna
gave her
find
the
out.
ability to be cured.
Or
and
like,
that was
yeah.
what we ended on.
I mean, we
uh,
are literally definitely
And I
going
guess
to find
that
out.
when is Thunderbolts is
That's
I guess
in
that's
spring?
summer?
I think summer. Yeah. So
Spring or
and then
summer?
Daredevil's next year. That's March.
I'm very excited for Daredevil.
I'm very excited for Daredevil.
I think I have to go and watch Echo for that.
Thunderbolts is May. So
Okay.
you know who I really
looking up, I
appreciate,
guess,
who
then.
I love a lot actually, is Sebastian Stan. I think he truly
Yeah.
does enjoy like
he
being in this universe, and he appreciates the character. Honestly, a lot like Zoe Saldana. There was another interview I saw with her.
She doesn't want to come back though, right?
No, she doesn't. But like it was a really good interview where she was talking about. I think it was for Avatar, and she was like talking about MC movies, and she's like, talking about how she really loved doing Guardians and how thoughtful and well written those characters and how there's a lot of depth to them. She's like, you know, that's not really cool to say anymore about Marvel movies, but like that was the truth, and that's one of the reasons I really enjoyed like making those movies. And honestly, the Guardians films I think are the absolute strongest Marvel movies
because
like,
they were created
in my
by
opinion.
James Gunn.
Well, yeah, and he's just such a
You know?
singular vision, and it was so
Don't
disconnected.
fuck up DC.
Yeah, listen,
I
yeah,
hear ya.
absolutely.
I hear ya.
But that's my diatribe on Thunderbolts.
I
I'm
got a lot
excited.
riding on that, but yeah.
Dude,
Looks like
that's the thing I'm the most excited
we're
for
on,
next
I got
year.
you know,
is
from
Superman.
Deadpool and Wolverine. I think we're on an upswing here. Agatha all along was definitely
Oh,
not
significant.
a low quality showing like
No.
we've seen with some of these other shows, which is good.
I will argue
Even
though,
if I have to eat some of my words,
fair enough.
you know.
I would argue though that like Marvel TV's been in like an 80% batting average for me. I think I've.
I mean, it's just
like,
the
aside from,
strikeouts
like,
are strikeouts.
right,
strikeouts.
like
And
the,
Echo was kind of like not bad, but like
was a nothing.
nobody
It was a
watched
nothing.
it.
no, it was very much like it was one of the least Marvel-y things I feel like they've made in a weird way, which is
Yeah.
funny. Like superhero
Connected it back to Daredevil Born Again when we didn't even really know what was happening
Right,
with Born
right.
Again. Still,
Yeah.
But like I don't know, I think overall I've enjoyed and thought they were actually very good 90% or 80% of Marvel shows. I just think again it has come down to that they've saturated the market so much to where we don't know
was
what's going
always-
on.
It became quantity.
It's just too much, and like you have to. In the average person, the average Joe's not going to be paying attention to all that, and I completely understand why. And that's why I think they've done a good job of at least pulling back this year. Except Sony's been like, no, you're not. Like,
yeah,
I will have Venom 3.
yeah,
Craven.
But I mean, for a while there,
Craven.
it was literally Marvel release, Star Wars release, Marvel release, Star
Right,
Wars release.
yeah.
Like there was no
with the TV shows.
there was no time to digest anything.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can't sit there and be like, well, you know what? Now that I get to look at this, like
But-
and how it connects,
and that's
it's a
how
good
they
show.
That's how they would keep retention with Disney Plus.
and I
Right.
think that was the formula.
And Agatha
Especially
all
back in that
along
time, yeah.
and Descendants, like another show on Disney Plus, put their numbers up 4 million,
yeah.
yeah.
which is like okay. Not that I guess I care about Disney Plus in some way. Not that it really matters to me.
No.
No, yeah.
I'm
It's
gonna-
a bottom line for them. That's
Right, I'm on there to watch, some of the shows I like.
Well, it's also
I don't
like-
really care of it as a platform, but
Right,
it's not gonna go away.
but and when you see a show that you like, you want it to do well, of course, right? Like even
Yeah.
regardless, sadly, even if it is made by the big gray box corporation, like I don't know, like I do want to see Agatha do well, and I want to see people watch it because I think it's deserving of your time.
I think
for
it's
sure.
got an interesting demographic. I
think
don't
so, too.
I think one of the things, especially in the beginning, I'm like, this show just is not really for me.
Sure.
Like in terms of like what it is about, and yeah.
Did you feel that way by the end still?
No, because it gets into the greater stuff,
Right,
and
right.
then I care again. But like, it is a show on its own without the connective tissue is definitely not a show for me.
Again, without the Wiccan
Which is
stuff,
fine.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
like I'm the fact that I'm admitting that I'm not like, well, it's not a show for me, so it sucks.
And honestly, that's like
DNN character growth right here.
I sadly think that's like not sadly. I think that was one of my arguments going back for even She-Hulk. Like, I don't like that show.
What were you about? You liked it.
She-Hulk. I was about
Yeah.
to say like She-Hulk.
Like, yeah, like but like that's not a comic and a show that like I would read or want to necessarily watch unless I
don't
was
know
like
if She-Hulk needed a show, but I didn't
No.
hate She-Hulk the show, right? Like
it's She-Hulk the comic book.
She-Hulk
It was
the comic
it's
book.
She-Hulk to the T.
I
That's
just hate how they did it.
right, but that's then you
That's
don't like
She-Hulk.
She-Hulk. You don't like She-Hulk's comics.
Apparently,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's I guess
And
my
that's
point.
fine.
I
with
think I
that.
was just interested in her as a character to
Right.
see her, but
I
like I
think-
got it and I was like,
I think as
Not
a,
for you, yeah.
as a character, I don't know if truly a show for She-Hulk makes the most sense because you can do those like more of those
Meta.
fourth wall meta jokes and breaks. I think where it lost everybody was the ending though.
Yeah.
because
Just
it
got too much. Yeah,
It's like the fuck
Come
are we
on.
doing?
you're trying to hang a lantern
you're
on
making
things.
fun
and
of
it's-
yourself now. Like you're not funny. Like this is a problem. Actually,
Yeah.
Like,
You're
not
hanging.
there.
You're trying to hang a lantern on it, and
But,
that's
like,
not making it better.
Even with Deadpool and Wolverine, when we go back to those jokes, it's still kind of like Marvel still has a lot to prove. They're letting, I don't know if that movie was necessarily made under like a different people.
Nah, it's Kevin Feige
it's
and all
all
that.
Kevin
Same thing.
Okay.
But I will say it is different, and it feels more earnest because it's Ryan Reynolds coming from the Fox universe. You know what I mean?
I think
Whereas
if
it's
you-
tougher when it's like an analog of Kevin Feige making fun of all these things that we're like, no, Kevin, these are actually issues. Like, you need to take care of these.
No, wait, hold on.
I mean, there were
this is a
still
problem,
issues with
man.
Deadpool and Wolverine.
For sure, don't get me
Again,
wrong.
I know
Yeah,
when we
yeah.
reviewed that, we're like, this is a great high, but like, let's be real.
But
Like,
and
we're
there's
still
just-
not in a great place.
Again, the
You gave me a
criticism
lot
felt
of
more
nostalgia.
earnest. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
But I think if you look at Marvel's track record since Loki season 2, which is what I think is a soft relaunch of Marvel, right? Because that's where you get rid of Kang and all the multiversal
right, for sure.
nonsense. If you look at Loki season 2 onward, they've been damn near perfect.
Loki's probably one of my favorite MCU things.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest.
Because I mean, Loki
it's-
season 1 was obviously meant to set up this multiversal war. Real life happened, and then we got a couple of projects in between that, where Ant-Man being one of them, where it's like, we don't even really know what direction we're going in
Right.
yet. And now if you look at Loki season 2 as this soft relaunch of Marvel's overarching story, they're doing a good job of creating things that we need to care about leading up to whatever Doomsday
And there's
looks
not just a fuck ton of it, at least so far.
like so far.
Yeah. Were you about to say something, Gooch? I'm sorry.
No. Well, I was, but
No.
it's not really relevant.
Got it. Anything else, gentlemen, on Agatha All Along?
I think that's it, man. But
I think it's worth the watch.
I
think
do
you
too.
do have to watch WandaVision.
WandaVision is
is
season
Yeah.
1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you kind of have to
well,
watch
then
the
you maybe
Avengers
have to watch
movies.
20 movies to get
Yeah.
WandaVision, but
But,
that's,
like,
that's neither here nor there.
That's neither here nor there. But if you're into Marvel stuff, I
I'd
think
be
this
curious,
is worth the watch.
with WandaVision. Like, I
think you
agree.
could watch
I tend to
WandaVision
agree
if
with
you-
you, but like, I think you could.
I think you can watch WandaVision without seeing the Marvel movies and why
Age
Wanda's
of Ultron,
traumatic.
Infinity War.
Yeah, like, I think you can
Wanda's
still
not
get something
involved
out of
in
that.
much. It's actually
No.
probably
I
maybe
feel
like
I
3
could
or 4
explain
movies.
to you what happened. Like, she lost the love of her life, and now she's grieving, and this is grief.
It's Age of Ultron, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame is probably like her arc.
Not to quote the great Paul Bettany, but what is grief but love persevering, right?
I mean, what a fucking line. And like, yeah, I don't know. I think you can obviously see with Scarlet Witch's character too throughout the years that they pivoted with her a tad. Like, I don't think she
Somewhere.
was supposed to be
No,
like a magic.
no,
It was more science-y, like pulse powers.
Remember
than
when Baron von Strucker is like, we're in the age of miracles?
Yeah,
Doctor.
and like
Yeah,
you could,
no,
it
they-
felt
they
very
had no
much more
idea what they were
sciencey.
doing.
Whereas like then they were like, oh no, now that we have X-Men, we can make her more magic-y,
magic-y,
and
yeah.
like we can actually lean into the sorceress
I do
side.
think her story ends with a somehow House of M tie-in, right? Like
Sure.
we still haven't gotten it, and there's no way that we go through Scarlet Witch, this version of Scarlet Witch with Elizabeth Olsen, and they don't do some version of House.
no mutants.
No
more,
more.
no mutants.
Bring them in. Bring them in.
Let there
Bring
be
'em all
mutants,
in.
right? Like you just do the opposite of what the House of M was. Instead
Right.
of no more mutants, let there be mutants.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that'd be pretty interesting.
Even though Kamala Khan is kind of a mutant.
Again, like another thing where they're just like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Why is she saying she's
playing
immune?
that X-Men theme, I'm like,
Is she an
so
She's an
unearned.
Inhuman?
No, in the
Yes.
comics, she's an
Yes,
Inhuman.
she's an
Well, and
Inhuman.
I think that's just
You're never gonna get the
that's
Inhumans.
born from that.
Oh,
They don't care
we
about
did.
the
We
Inhumans.
got them.
Well,
They just didn't do good.
Yeah, we got
and
they
it
got
wasn't good.
Inhumans,
Yeah.
and then we got the callback in Multiverse of Madness, but I don't think.
And
we'll ever
not
get
only
Inhumans.
Inhumans
Blackagon,
in,
Voltagon.
not even only Inhumans in the show, but like
Its
in,
real name.
They did them in Agents of Shield too. Quake was an Inhuman. Anyway,
Well, and that's where it just closes out here. That's where when especially Marvel television and movies were super like not Iger. I can't remember
Jeff
who.
Loeb.
Jeff Loeb ran Marvel TV.
Feige
ran
ran
movies, and they
movies.
did not clash well.
Yeah.
So
and that was part of the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
They
In
were
the
giving us
beginning, yeah.
Well,
they were
especially
giving
way
us
back, yeah.
characters and stories of stuff that didn't matter.
But yeah, good conversation, guys.
before we interrupt, Frank, do you want to drop any links? Well, I know they're going to be in the
Anything
description.
anywhere
but-
we can find you or anything like that.
Twitch.tv/Delco's Prodigal Son. Only place on the internet.
There we
That
go.
and TikTok.
I love it.
I do straight up nothing else.
Well, fantastic, man. Well, thanks for coming on. It's been
Yeah,
a,
man. It's
a
always
fucking
good time.
blast.
Yeah, we appreciate you getting in here.
Yeah, please like, comment in the comments, of course. Tell us what you think of Agatha all along. We'd really love to hear your thoughts. Otherwise, a like goes a long way. Telling your friends about us helps too. We always appreciate you spreading the word about the Delco Nerd Network here. But thank you all for watching with us live. If you've been with us live on twitch.tv/Delco Nerd Network, we really appreciate your time. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco Nerd Network on your service of choice. We are on all the social medias as well, at Delco Nerds, on everything with an @ We got a Facebook page, Discord channel, all that good stuff will be linked down below for your convenience. You can find all this information at our website, delconerdnetwork.com. You can even email us your comments, questions, or concerns to delconerds@gmail.com. We'd be happy to get back to you. But for Gooch, for Frank, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we will see you next time.